Praise God for what He's done and what He's continuing to do. I'm excited to show you today a design for getting your megaphone high up into the air. So I'm going to take a step back here, and as you can see, I got those megaphones on a telescoping pole. Some people call it a painter's pole. And so this thing can, the pole can go 12, 16 feet, depending on which one you get. This particular one is a 12-footer. I didn't really feel the need to go, way high with the megaphones. But I encourage you to consider getting the megaphone high up into the air, because I think there's some valuable benefits to get from that. So first and foremost, I think the megaphone is heard much farther away when it is elevated, since it's not blocked by a wall of people. So if you have people standing behind people, getting it up in the air will help the people in the back row hear what you have to say. And so another benefit is similar. When the megaphone's elevated, it is harder for someone to intentionally block the megaphone, like with a piece of cardboard or whatever they might have. And so another benefit is to protect people's ears. And so the megaphone is no longer, at ear level, or it's farther away. And so definitely don't want to hurt anybody's hearing, even the people that are intentionally putting their ear right in front of the megaphone within a couple inches in their mockery. And so another benefit is that the sound seems to be clearer and therefore easier to understand when the megaphone's high up into the air. I don't know the acoustics of it all, but that just seems to be the case based on my experience using one megaphone on a telescoping pole. Another benefit is that it gets the equipment away from the people trying to damage the equipment or mess with it. Okay, so that ends the section about the benefits of getting a megaphone high up into the air. Now I'm just going to give you a very brief tour. Later in the video I'll give a more extensive tour. Okay, and explain all sorts of details. But I just thought I would give you a sneak peek here. Okay. So the benefits of this specific implementation is what I'm going to talk about now. This implementation allows multiple megaphones to be driven by one microphone. A wireless microphone is what I use, and that's what the receiver of that system goes in this black pouch, and then a wire goes from there to the input hole of the megaphone for each one. You're using a splitting wire. And so that seems to be going real well, and the range of that wireless microphone is definitely decent. And so another benefit is that this implementation provides the option to have multiple configurations, so that you can tailor your setup to the specific environment you're going to. So if you just need one megaphone on your telescoping pole, that will work. If you're in a noisier environment and you need multiple megaphones to simply be heard, then you could maybe put two on there and have them face in the same direction to double the volume. Otherwise, you could do it how I have it set up here, where they're all facing in different directions. Maybe that'd be handy on a street corner where you're trying to aim it down 3 of the 4 directions you have at the intersection. And so another benefit of this specific implementation is that it is portable. It seems to be like it'd be easy to walk with while using, and meaning someone else. You got two people, one person on the microphone and another person carrying the pole, or you could put the wireless microphone on your head using the headband that it comes with, and then carry it yourself. So yeah, the weight doesn't seem overbearing. Doesn't seem like you get exhausted or too much in that regard. So yeah, portable. Another benefit of this specific implementation is that no holes were needed in the megaphone. I don't like drilling holes in my megaphone, and so I was happy about that. Another benefit is that these Pile megaphones, which is model PMP59IR, they come with a rechargeable battery. And that's nice, because these batteries, they last a pretty long time. And here it is. And they're lighter than the D batteries that you would normally stick in, which you still could if you chose to, but yeah, I recommend this rechargeable battery that it comes with. That's a great deal. The megaphone and the battery for about $50. Very good deal, I think. And so yeah, another benefit of this rechargeable battery is that you connect it just through that one connection there. So it's very quick and easy to swap out batteries if you have to go on a longer preach. Okay, another benefit of this Pile megaphone is that it's pretty light when using the rechargeable battery, and you'll want to keep an eye on the weight, because the more weight you have, I think the more dangerous this would be. Like, for example, if it fell over and hit somebody in the head, you might get into some pretty big trouble, and even liability concerns and such. So I'm not recommending this system or design to anyone. I am just letting you know that it exists. If you choose to use it, you do so at your own risk. Keep in mind, you might get pushed around, and accidents do happen and surprises do come about. So make sure you think it through very well before deciding to pursue this. And you might want to take into account the environment that you're in. Maybe some events this would be safe to use, but other events maybe not. Or maybe just go with one megaphone on the telescoping pole to minimize the risk. Okay, so I did a wiggle test, and meaning I took my hand on the telescoping pole and shook this around in various directions, and it held up real good, I think. I guess it'd be kind of nice if it was a little stiffer, but I don't think it's like a flaw in the design. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I got some really thick gauge metal here that I am not worried about breaking. That stuff is pretty strong. You try to bend it with your bare hands, and you'll see. Now, leverage, of course, can do a lot. If you got a lot of weight up here, right, the leverage with the distance and all can do stuff. But still, yeah, I'm not worried about it. I got 4 points of contact here, so that's pretty strong. If you were concerned about the wiggling around, you could do stuff maybe like with some more bands to, but yeah, I don't think anything's going to be falling off, as I'll explain later in the video. And so just something to consider for yourself. The microphone is, as you can see, kind of close to the output of the megaphone. Like this one right here is close to this. And so you might think, boy, is there going to be a problem with that? Like feedback or howling or some sort of problem hurting people's ears and being an annoyance? And I don't think so. And the reason why is that the volume on the handheld mic here is turned all the way down. Because remember, we don't use this mic, we use the wireless mic. Yeah, the volume's turned all the way down, but even when it's turned all the way down, the wireless mic isn't affected. So that is great. Even if you're just using one megaphone, that's still great, because then you don't have to worry about that microphone picking up anything. So another reason why I don't think that's a problem to have the microphone close to the output of the megaphone is that you could always put a cover over the handheld mic so that then the sensor doesn't get as much exposure to noise. And then another option, last resort, would to be relocate the microphone. So taking it off the handy hook there and maybe fastening it someplace safe, like over here in the center. Okay. So moving on, now I'm going to give you a close-up tour, and after that I'll get into more interesting details. I just want to give you a feel first for what we got going on here. Okay, so I got washers, wing nuts, 2-inch, 1/4 inch bolt. Yeah. And then I got a 10-inch brace here, 10-inch, and the holes on that guy line up perfectly with the right here and here, line up perfectly with this 5-inch corner bracket, and which I bent, as you can see here. I'll talk about that later. And yeah, here's the pouch that holds the wireless microphone system. Here's some wireless bands that fasten this 5-inch corner bracket to the megaphone. These are rubber sheets that I'll talk about later. And here's another 5-inch corner bracket. Okay, and then there's another one right there, which is like it's connected by bolts right there and there. And then for this middle megaphone, that's supported by a T-brace. So I got a T-brace. It's hard to see. It's right there. Anyways, it goes from here to here, and then there in that way. And so that's what the metal bands are grabbing onto, is that T brace. Okay, so there you go. Come over from a different perspective. Maybe do some rotation. Okay, that's the end of the close-up tour. Now I'm going to explain some of the parts, like more details. So like for example, like this rubber here. I use 2 different thicknesses depending on the main purpose. So like I used the thicker sheet, which is 1/8 of an inch. I got it from Lowe's in the plumbing department, and it provides cushion such that the megaphone doesn't crack under the pressure of the metal bands. Okay, I didn't want my megaphone wrecked. And then also there is a thinner one, 1/16 of an inch, that is used for when you don't need the cushioning, you just need some, the grip of a rubber, the friction. And so the thicker stuff provides grip and friction too as well, but it's nice to not get too bulky, so that's why sometimes I use the 1/16. And then yeah, so this friction is really important because I didn't want things slipping around. I got slippery plastic, slippery metal. I didn't want to have to use a lot of torque on these metal bands to try to keep things from slipping around, so the rubber also helps me to not have to torque it down so hard. And then these metal bands, they go up to 4.5 inches. Looks like the ID number I've seen at multiple stores is 064. They go out, I think another way to say it is it goes up to 114 millimeters. There's the 4.5 inch that I was telling you about, so you know what size to get. Okay, now I'm going to talk about a really important piece in the system, and that is the corner bracket. Okay, that I already pointed out right there, and I showed you earlier where else it appears. So here is fresh from the store, unmodified. Okay, and it is nice and straight. But I took a hammer to these, and it's straight here, and it's straight here, but then it bends here, and it bends here, and the purpose of that is several reasons. So number one, I wanted to maximize the amount of friction and so to do that, I had to make sure that everything was flush in this area where the metal bands are. And if I kept it straight, due to the shape of the megaphone, it was causing some of the area to just be air. There's no contact, not flush. Another reason is I didn't want to put pressure on this part of the megaphone, as it just seemed like it'd be more susceptible to cracking or damage, and so and I don't. Okay, so I did that. As you can see, it's not touching. And then also it helps, and this is a very important thing I think, is it helps prevent this corner bracket from slipping off, slipping through these metal bands, as good as they are, slipping them off, and then having these things fall to the ground. And so by bending it, that's causing I'm not going to explain the physics of it, but so that's what's causing it to resist coming out of the metal bands. And then another piece I got going on here is the 10-inch bracket. Like I said, the holes line up real nicely. I was really trying to avoid getting too heavy of a piece, and also having to drill holes through these metal pieces. And so I was really happy that the holes matched up nicely, and the length of it allowed me to have 4 contact points. I was really happy about that because of this pole that I chose has a thinner diameter of pipe here. So I mean, it's not the strongest pole. I did notice that it is able to be compressed. If that concerns you, then stay tuned, because at the end of the video I explain how I can how you could improve the design to make it stronger. Okay. These washers here I'm using so that I got space for these bolts here, these bolt heads. If I didn't have them, then yeah, there wouldn't be room for that. So when I want to put this away, what I plan on doing is detaching these two bolts right here, and so then all the megaphones would come off, and I would be left with the telescoping pole with the 10-inch brace fastened to it. I thought that would be less work and quicker than to disconnect these 4 points here and having to deal with all these washers coming off and all that, and not losing pieces and stuff like that. So, okay. The drill holes that I did through the telescoping pole is 1/4 inch. I was originally planning on 5/16, but because of the wimpiness of this pole, I thought I'm going to be careful and just do 1/4 inch. 5/16 I mean, isn't really necessary for the weight, but so yeah, I think that'll work out great. Just if when you're doing these holes if you're doing 1/4 inch, oh, that's another reason why I was wanting to do 5/16 is these metal brackets here, those holes are 5/16, and I was hoping that the bolt that I used through the telescoping pole would be the same diameter, just to keep everything real nice and snug. But since I used a 1/4 inch bolt, that means that there's potential for some wiggle room in those holes, and so I'm pointing to this hole up here because it's the same size as the hole in the bracket down here. And so yeah, since there's that wiggle room, then I'm like, oh, am I going to have to put some extra torque on this thing so that it doesn't wiggle around? And so yeah, I don't like the idea of that, like I said, because this telescoping pole can be compacted under pressure, and so I didn't want to put a lot of torque on this, and so instead what I did was I just was very careful on where I drilled the holes in the telescoping pole, and so ideally you would want each bolt to be touching the top of the brackets hole. That way the weight of the system goes to the bolt. Otherwise you might have to torque the wing nuts more and possibly compressing your pipe slightly. Okay, so next part is the pouch for the wireless microphone receiver, which right here I just got a loose wire band here with a little loop that it has on the case here. It's a pretty nice case. I got it from Amazon, and one of the things that I like about it is the size, nice and compact. It does provide cushion and protection. It's a little kind of like a firmer front face, and it's what I really like is this skirt right there, because what that does is then when I can have my wire come down here, exit the pouch down at the bottom, and then when I zip down, the wire's right there, the end of the skirt is right there. So that what that means, if it rains or some sort of liquid coming in this direction, well, the hole is below the skirt. So if water were to get in there, the skirt's going to prevent it from getting it to the rest of the main compartment where the electronic equipment is. So I like that. And this pouch also has this nice strong Velcro, what do you call it? I don't know what it is. And so, band. And so that's nice. And let me show you the this is the packaging of the product, of the pouch. And so, okay, oh, there we go. Okay, I'll plan on putting the details of the parts in the description of the video. And, okay. There is a 4-inch T-plate to support the middle bracket, like I mentioned before. It's located right here. That's where it attaches to the rest of the system, and then it has a portion of it that goes right here, and then that's what the metal bands are fastened onto. And the packaging of that looks like this. I got that from Ace. Okay. And then the wireless microphone system is next. Okay, so here. Okay, so this is the wireless microphone that you'd have, that the speaker would have with them. It's got volume control on it, minus and plus buttons. This thing's flexible, which is nice, so then you can have it contained in your hand, protected and secure. And then this is the stuff that goes in that black pouch on the Megaphone that I was showing you. And so this is the receiver of the signal from the microphone, and then that is connected to a preamp, which just simply increases the volume. I had to do that because I was a little disappointed with this wireless system on this Megaphone. On other Megaphones it does just fine. You don't need the preamp, but okay. And then from the preamp it is connected to a splitter, so the one wire becomes two. Okay, so there's the end of that part, and then you connect another wire to the splitter wire to get connected to the Megaphone itself. Okay, same thing for the other one. Okay, and so that's the wireless system. And okay. The first implementation that I tried when I was just trying to get one Megaphone up into the air had a PVC pipe attached to the corner bracket, 5-inch corner bracket right here. So I didn't use this long 10-inch thing, and I didn't bolt it to the pole. All I had is a PVC pipe connected to this right angle bracket, and then at the bottom of the PVC pipe I had a threaded socket, which connected to here. This Acme threading, it worked, even though visually it doesn't look like it lines up. And but with this being plastic, I was concerned that maybe it would break off, or that the PVC socket would crack or break somehow. I mean, I don't think it was very likely at all with the one Megaphone, but now that I'm adding more weight with more Megaphones, I thought I should go with something more sturdy, like this bolt design. You could use a different telescoping pole, one that has a metal end, so then you wouldn't have to worry about that breaking off, and it would just be the PVC socket, the thread socket, that might crack or break or something. I don't think it's likely, but it's just to let you know that exists. Okay, and so the reason, one more thing about this telescoping pole, is that the reason why I chose it is because rather than like that one over there, is this one collapses down or shrinks down, however you want to word it, a lot shorter than the other one. So like here I'm at like around 5.5 feet, and as you can see that, where this one over here, you're talking, this one's going to be like a little over 6 feet, maybe 6.5 feet. So 6 feet, and that you don't even have extended yet to hook onto your 10-inch brace there with the 4 points. So that's one reason why I chose the megaphone or the telescoping pole that I did. And another reason is that this one's pretty light. It's nice and light. It's 12 foot. That's really all I need. And there is a 16-foot one that looks very similar at Lowe's. But yeah, the diameter of this top pole and that one's the same, and that one's just, it's heavier. So yeah, you could have more overlap between your sections. That's nice, but I'm trying to keep the system light as possible. So now I'm going to move on to improvement ideas. One way that you can improve, something which I didn't do, is you could sand this rubber just slightly, so that's a little rougher, and then provide more friction. When you get it from the store, it's a little slippery, but even when it's like that, it still does a pretty good job. It's just a way to improve. Another way to improve is strengthen the connection of the telescoping pole. So like I've been mentioning in the video, the diameter of this is kind of small. Prefer it to be bigger, because when you have a bigger diameter metal pipe, it tends to be stronger, and so that's why you might want to use one like that. And another way to increase the strength of the connection to the telescoping pole is you could even use this pole here, but drill through this second section. So it's a wider diameter, but also then you would be having your bolt go through 2 pipes. The larger diameter one, the outer one that you see here, and then the one inside of it, this one here. So just obviously strengthen that. Just an idea. I don't think I'll be doing that, but who knows. And then also a small detail that most people won't care about is that the color, if you don't like this color of rubber, it also comes in black. Okay, so like I said, I intend to eventually put the part identification numbers in the video description. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any ideas on how to improve the system or concerns you might have. Thanks. Praise God for what He's done and what He's continuing to do. I'm excited to show you today a design for getting your megaphone high up into the air. So I'm going to take a step back here, and as you can see, I got those megaphones on a telescoping pole. Some people call a painter's pole. And so this thing can, the pole can go 12, 16 feet, depending on which one you get. This particular one is a 12-footer. I didn't really feel the need to go, way high with the megaphones. But yeah, I encourage you to consider getting the megaphone high up into the air, because I think there's some valuable benefits to get from that. So first and foremost, I think the megaphone is heard much farther away when it is elevated, since it's not blocked by a wall of people. So if you have people standing behind people, yeah, getting it up in the air will help the people in the back row hear what you have to say. And so another benefit is similar. When the megaphone's elevated, it is harder for someone to intentionally block the megaphone, like with a piece of cardboard or whatever they might have. And so another benefit is to protect people's ears. And so the megaphone is no longer, at ear level, or just, it's farther away. And so definitely don't want to hurt anybody's hearing, even the people that are intentionally putting their ear right in front of the megaphone within a couple inches in their mockery. And so another benefit is that the sound seems to be clearer and therefore easier to understand when the megaphone's high up into the air. I don't know the acoustics of it all, but that just seems to be the case based on my experience using one megaphone on a telescoping pole. Another benefit is that it gets the equipment away from the people trying to damage the equipment or mess with it. Okay, so that ends the section about the benefits of getting a megaphone high up into the air. Now I'm just going to give you a very brief tour. Later in the video I'll give a more extensive tour. Okay, and explain all sorts of details. I just thought I would give you a sneak peek here. Okay. So the benefits of this specific implementation is what I'm going to talk about now. This implementation